Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to yet another edition of the Lambom Show. Today is Saturday, July 30th, 2022. And I want to start off by apologizing for us starting late. Actually broadcasting outside my regular studio in the office. I had to make shift with something at home. So I apologize for the late start. We are on our regular show on Saturdays, African Soccer Vibes with veteran journalist Fon Echekiye. Again, sorry I kept him waiting for 2 hours, uh, and we missed out last week because of some technical issues, and also um, Fon was not feeling too well. But we are glad to have him back. And because we have not had a recap of what happened the end of the competitions last last week, the TotalEnergies Women's African Cup of Nations that ended last Saturday. So, Fon, welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Lambert. It's also my pleasure to be on. You say that you had a very terrible day today. I had a terrible week. Already past 7 days. Actually, just got out of my bed to come and answer a few questions from you. And probably after the program, I'll get back and see how I can manage myself. So, great point.
Yes, thank you. We are glad. We every time we are able to, we give thanks. We thank God for the opportunity. We thank God for giving us health. But let's roll on. Today we want to again for the last 5 weeks we have been talking about this competition that was taking place in Morocco that ended last week. You had you had some predictions as to who was going to win, and I know the text you sent to me immediately. Morocco was they were defeated. So what is new? What is new with that? How did the competitions end? Who won? And I'm sure, of course, South Africa won, and I'm sure that is what you predicted. But let's hear your analysis of how the competitions ended, results, and all that.
Well, what actually happened was that I actually from a word that the stage of the final of the opening game between Nigeria and South Africa suggested that if you could plot a graph of time against performance, that it was enough reason to extrapolate and assume and preview or project that South Africa will go all the way, and it soon became past. And South Africa had all the reasons, all the technical arguments going in favor of them to win the competition. That is just how it got to the final game. And the competition closed the last Saturday and the first goal last game in Rabat. Before we got to that point, we were talking on the eve of the semi-final competition, the semi-final games. And you were asking me the question between Zambia and South Africa, my thought was going to go through. And between Morocco and Nigeria, you were asking me who my thought was going to go through. Now, there's nothing much to say about the match between Zambia and South Africa, because I said right from the go that projections were that South Africa was going to the trophy back home. So therefore, if they had to carry the trophy back home, it meant that they were going to show aside each and every opponent were going to beat their way. So when they met the Zambians in the semi-finals, it was certain that they were going to defeat the Zambians. It was an interesting match between two neighbors who know themselves all too well because of the soccer cup in South Africa in that region of the continent. So 1-0 defeat in favor of South Africa was to be expected. I saw the Zambians take the pitch very, very embittered and like trying to tell themselves that we've lost, that we have every reason not to lose the next match because we have a third place match. So while looking forward to the third place match, there was the own cracker between Nigeria and Morocco. The host country Morocco and Nigeria. Nigeria, 11 times champion, first participation. Morocco was coming to the game after about 22 years. So we know they were playing before the home crowd. And let's start off by saying that Morocco and Nigeria gave football pundits and football archaeologists enough reason to go back to write down one more thing in their diaries. What was that thing? The record of 45,562 people of Jambi Stadium watch the female South African Cup of Nations match. What record it was? In fact, it was a record-setting attendance at the stadium when Nigeria knocked out Morocco. Now, because of that match, it was so tight, everything was in play. So I predicted that it was going to be exuberance and determination fighting against experience. That is exactly what we saw. But I wouldn't shy away from, let's say, throwing some word at the officiating of the match. When Nigeria came down to one woman down, they were playing 10 against 11. And then they came down to 2 women down, playing 9 against 11. And the reasons for which 2 red cards were pushed out to Nigerian players was because it was clearly shown, even by visual assistant referee, that players climbed on the ankles of their opponents. That was seen and judged in me, trying to destroy the career of the players. But there was an opportunity to where a Moroccan climbed on the ankle of a Nigerian that would have merited a red card. In the place of red card, the referee gave a yellow card. So I thought there was something really wrong with that. However, the match was a very, very, very tough match. In fact, it was a good product to sell to other planets of the, or let's say, let's start new other continents of what women's football made in Africa is capable of producing. Good quality match, good techniques, good tactics, good everything you can expect in the game of football. And so, when you have everything good on both sides, at the end of the day, it becomes difficult for you to know who on the better side. So they got to a parity, and they had to proceed to the post-out or the post-match penalty shootout. There will come to what they call, some people like to call it the lottery. And at that particular point in time, it becomes difficult for you to say who carried the camera or not. The knock comes and who goes around the place, so at least which one more equipment into level and so forth. So Morocco scored 5 times against 4 Nigeria. That was how Morocco was able to overpower Nigeria to reach the final game of the tournament. So Morocco are going to this final game having played 120 minutes and qualifying in the strength of penalty shootouts, while South Africa defeated Zambia 1-0 and just really watching wait for their opponent in the final game. When they got to the final game, the record crowd of 45,562 that were in the semi-final, whose Monrovia and the stadium was beaten. In fact, the word is broken, the record was broken. A new one was set. Most exactly go of that got in bed. All we've been told is that the one now at the final game was 50,000 plus. If you've been watching football matches, it's about spectator turnout being more than 50,000. That tells you exactly how the stadium could have been. In fact, I described it in a write-up when I said the International Federation of Football History and Statistics is a cordon and Prince Wole Abdullahi Stadium in Rabat. So this game took off. South Africa, aware of the fact that Morocco had the local crowd in their favor, came to the field with a lot of education and that experienced coach, Desiree Ellis, who let them understand that if you're getting to this game, know that you are going 11 of you to play against the entire kingdom of Morocco. So be prepared for anything in terms of noise from the stands. And that was exactly what they found. Drums video, bugle blowing, whistling, vuvuzela blowing, all kinds of things expected on against South Africa. Just if I think if you had 50,000 people at that stadium on that day, then maybe just about 100 of them will be favor of South Africa. So it was all red in the European flag. The match kicked off, such a very tight game, proceeded. That at some point it became difficult to want to understand whether.
I think there's a problem with the mic. Maybe unplug your earpiece and let's see whether that works, because I thought it was coming from my. Go ahead now.
Is it better now?
Excellent.
Is it okay?
It is okay. Thank you, Alexander Siwe, for pointing that out. So go ahead.
That's Alex Siwe, is my friend from CAF. So I don't know at what point the microphone started disturbing, but I was just saying that CAF succeeded in putting a message across that African football at the level of the feminine gender really something we could write home about. So as we said, we went up and out to the final game. The first thing that we registered at the final was that the record of 45,562 spectators at the semi-final shootout between Morocco and Nigeria was beaten. We were not given the exact figure, but we were told that this time around it had gotten to 50,000 and plus. So that record of attendance was beaten, set in the semi-finals and broken again at the final. That said much about what the women's football had to what level women's football on the continent had come to. So it was a very, very tough and tight match. And Desiree Ellis, the coach of South Africa, was just saying a while ago, had told the South Africans that if you get into this match you play against Morocco, then please get to understand that you are going to play against the entire kingdom of Morocco for obvious reasons. The Moroccans were hosting a tournament and they were coming in 20 years later on, and we're hoping that we're going to make this return a triumphant one. They have done so much and now at the final game, so they expected that we're going to win this game. So the South African sides, well coached by a highly experienced coach, the Israelis, took in the game, brought the games to the Moroccans. They played midfield, took the match right into the South African area, took it back to the Moroccan area. And then when they came back the second time, South Africa made a better of situation. So they scored the first goal. And before the Moroccans had recovered and putting together a strategy for a comeback, South Africa hit it a second time. And so that took the scores to 2-0 for South Africa. But we still had a lot of time left for the match to come to an end. But Moroccans therefore rallied, and through Tagnaout, they were able to come back with one goal that brought back life to the Prince Moulay Abdullahi Stadium in Rabat. And everyone rose to their feet, hoping that it was going to be a hilarious and dramatic comeback of the Moroccan side. But the South Africans held their own, and so that was how the match evolved to full time to give them the victory of 2-1. May I say that when this match ended, if you had watched all 28 matches of the competition, you come away with this impression that women's football on the African continent is actually making strides. In fact, the president of CAF, Mr. Patrice Motsepe, had insisted that they're taking this level of the game to a much higher level so that women's football on the continent can become very competitive on the global stage. And I guess that he achieved exactly what he has set as standard. And they are working very hard on it, that after this competition, we're going to see how far we'll go. At the level of organization, we could see things, almost everything going on as planned. In terms of the beauty of the game, no one can throw stones or mud at the quality of the game as we watched during the 14th WAFCON. Talking about the quality of players who took part, I think the African continent can really be boastful about its women's football. I watched it from the start to the end of every game, and I came away with that impression. And I think that CAF should be giving themselves a pat on the back for having attained one of the objectives, that of taking football made on the continent to a much higher level and making it a globally competitive product.
Yeah, again, I didn't have the opportunity like you to watch every game, but I think the few that I watched there, it really showed a sense of professionalism and games that were really exciting. I was looking forward to a Nigeria South Africa final, um, but Morocco's, I mean, they deserved it because they too, not just because they were playing on their at home, but also the quality of players that they had. But I'm wondering, beyond that, I mean, before we get the third place game, that was even more shocking because it was Nigeria against Zambia. And so
Well,
more, Nigeria, one would have thought again, with their hunger, they already have these titles. They have now missed out. And so I don't know whether they took it for granted. What happened with that game?
it wasn't a question of taking anything for granted. Let me tell you, they couldn't have been taking it for granted because my argument is very simple. If Nigeria has won the trophy 11 times, not one player in the team has won the trophy 11 times. So as you win and go, others come and join the bandwagon, they win and go, others come and join, and name Nigeria keeps on winning and going. So each player who comes to join the team that won the cup already want to be part of the generation that also won the trophy. So I don't think that we're taking anything for granted. It so happens that the game that accounts for the excitement in football. When it becomes predictable, it loses the flavor of the game, as it were. So when you come into play, you know that this team has already won this tournament, so we're taking the game to them. Now, let me just look at the one you're interested in: Zambia versus Zambia versus Nigeria. Now, Zambia were defeated by South Africa in the first round, 1-0. Nigeria were defeated by South Africa 2-1. Now, Zambia says these big guys were defeated by South Africa, who defeated us 1-0 by 2-1. It means, therefore, that these guys were not strong enough, so they were a little feeble. That's why they could take 2 goals from South Africans. Okay, if they can take 2 goals from South Africans and we took just 1 from South Africans, it means that if we put in a little more effort, we can maybe take just 1 goal, 2 from them and then score more than they did. So I think that was the argument I was putting in place. So they met a Zambian side that was highly motivated and that had come to the competition in their third participation, and they were going close to reaching the golden fleece. They were already been motivated by the fact they had qualified already to play at the World Cup finals. So all of those things came together and gave me an extra bonus in terms of motivation, and so to stand their grounds against Nigeria, for me, was not unpredictable.
So, I mean, is it fair to characterize the Zambian team as kind of the most improved team during this competition? Because I think they really, really fought through. It was a side that really demonstrated quite some energy. I mean, in my estimation, because the others were predictable: Nigeria, South Africa, and the rest. You know.
Yeah, of course. You're saying exactly what it is. So my saying what you've just said is definitely going to be a repetition. The Zambian team, as far as I'm concerned, was a revelation of the tournament. They put in their very best. They have youthful players, and that augurs well for the future of football on the continent in the women's gender. And if you know that in the final pick by CAF of 11 players to start the main team of the competition, 2 of them come from Zambia. So that tells you that the Zambian team it wasn't something like it had nothing to do with possibilities. In fact, it got to a probability. Zambia moved from a possibility to a probability. That's moving from where it can happen to it happening. So their performance, as far as I'm concerned, and what I watched from game to game, day in, day out, for me, projects them as the team that would have emerged as the revelation of the tournament.
So, what happened to Nigeria? I mean, Nigeria came in as they were supposed to be favorites for this competition, but they came, I mean, disappointingly, both. So, what happened? they have the players they have. They are outstanding players. The team is so formidable. So what was the problem with the Nigerian team?
No, I don't think that Nigeria had any problem as such. It so happens that this time around, when they came in for the competition, they made teams that were ready for them. Now, if you're going to a competition, if Cameroon were going to the competition to play against two teams, one of them called Nigeria and the other one was called Botswana, they would definitely say, well, with this Botswanan team, it's an unknown quantity. Let's just go and play and see. We'll discover them on the field. If they're going to play against Nigeria, they say, well, we already know Nigeria. We know that Asisat has to play. We know that Rashid that has to play. These are players who already know. This is what we're going to do to be able to stop them. And that is what happened with Nigeria. So Nigeria was the team to beat at the start of the tournament. And when they started the tournament with South Africa having the clue to the Nigerian puzzle, was easy for every other person to say, okay, well, if A can, B can always do. So that was what happened to Nigeria. Nigeria was a good side. They did well, but it so happens that this time around, people are going to match their knowledge of what they know to the subject in front of them. You know, when you're going to an examination and you're going to tackle the questions in a thing like mathematics, they bring to you something they call a polynomial equation. We get into it and you start using the binomial theorem to resolve the situation or to resolve the puzzle, and you can't succeed, you get stuck. They have several other formulae that can help you to resolve the quadratics, then you easily get the responses. So Nigeria simply just got there because they were the one side to beat, and each person who came across them put in their very best. And so that's exactly what happened to them, and they probably were beaten out of the trade to the final. The microphone is off.
So CAF,
Okay.
I was trying to get share something. CAF put out its best 11 this week from the competition,
Okay.
and I'm trying to see whether I can share that.
Yes, I just got it too. I got it just minutes before this program.
So it looks like that. So there are, call it how many? 1, 2.
There are 11 of them. 11 of them is starting lineup.
Yes, I mean there are 4 South Africans in there. There are 3 Moroccans. There are 1, 2.
2 Zambians.
2 Zambians and 2 Nigerians. So I mean, is this the best from the semi-finalist, or how did they come to that?
No, it'll be when this game, when we were getting to the final game, I was already drawing my own starting lineup for the tournament. And in all honesty, what I could tell you is that before I came across this CAF publication, what I had myself was I had what they have as the 11 for the starting lineup. I had 8. So I only had one player, I think Ajara. If I could get my list straight again, I had Ajara, would have come in at some point, but he was replaced. It's just that it's a matter of determining who played many more games to get to that position. But if you took, as CAF had it, that the 4 defenders from left to right, Redouani from Tunisia, Osinachi from Nigeria, Mabanani from South Africa, Belemo from Zambia. Perfect. Even begin with the goalkeeper. There was no discussion there. The South African goalkeeper demonstrated that she was the best in the tournament. Now we go to midfield. We have Chebak from Morocco, Grace Chanda from Zambia, and Refilio from South Africa. Now, why I thought that was that, in my own opinion, was that would have displaced Chanda and put her to the right, put Chebak in the middle, and Adjara to the left. The final pick by CAF did not give me that. Then at the attack line, have Tagnawit, Siopo Senwe, and Rashidat. Tagnawit from Morocco, Siopo Senwe from South Africa, and Rashidat from Nigeria. No, there's nothing much to quarrel with that starting lineup by CAF, because we followed the tournament each and every game. These players who appear in the starting pick by CAF, in my opinion, have a reason each one to feature in the starting lineup. You may just have one or two. Sometimes there's a difficulties. They say, well, if this player is playing this wing, or what about this other wing would have been this other way, and stuff like that. No. A player may shine very well in a game of football, playing in a particular wing. Then now another player is shining in the same game, in the same tournament, playing in the same wing in another team. There are some considerations that are given to make one player overtake the other one. That therefore makes it impossible for the second player to feature in the list. Things they will not move, they will not swap positions just because they want the player to appear in the starting 11. They'll go to the wing and judge those who are in that department of that wing to know who are the best to feature in the starting lineup. So as far as I'm concerned, a CAF's pick for me was okay.
Surprising again. What happened to your home country? They were bundled out quite early, and I see out of love your patriotic self is giving them one player, Adjara, to come in. So what happened to the Cameroon side, and what needs to be improved?
So how many times do you want me to answer the same question? You want me to answer it the second time? No. You want me to answer it the third time? It happens that the Cameroon team was not the best team that went to the tournament. That is it. Or let's say what they had at the disposal of the coach Gabriel Zabo was not the best that could have given him did not give him the best strength in terms of having to match the Cameroon equation to the equation of others. So Cameroon went to the tournament looking at what happened at home before they left. They did not have, first of all, enough solid sparring partners before the tournament. There was a lot of noise made about the choice of the players. Some key players who were not involved in the team. And we also heard that at some point, the coach was losing his grips on the team because you had people who had to be calling him and giving instructions left and right on what to be done. Those are just mere reports. I've not had the opportunity to talk with the coach as myself. But the Cameroon team that went to this tournament was far away, a gulf away from the one that took part in the tournament hosted by Cameroon in 2016. Cameroon, people would have expected to see them prepare to play the kind of football we did at the time. No, they didn't. They just had 2 or 3 players who emerged, but that was a little too late. And the choice of who is taken to a tournament should depend on what they have, what they can bestow at the particular time the tournament is taking place. We should shy away from this neurosis of always going back to bank on history. History tells you things that can encourage you and maybe guide you. But history will not always control your destiny. So they lost the opportunity to qualify for the World Cup and now have to go and play the intercontinental playoffs to find a way of qualifying for those finals. That are transforming, as I've always said when I run commentaries in the game of football, that transform a situation that's supposed to be an ordinary and quadratic equation into a very complicated polynomial or triple equation, I want to call it that way. So what is left to them now for them is that they have learned their lessons. They have to sit back now and do their homework. What do you need to do? Source for those players, because what is happening right now is that we got the impression that time is never really given to the technical staff to do their job the right way. Remember that during this tournament, while Cameroon was actually running and begging to restore their dignity and their name in the tournament, there was the females team playing the name of the military competition in the United States where they were defeating teams 8 goals to nothing, 12 goals to nothing, and stuff like that. And some of the players who were playing in that team are from the local Guinea Super League. That's what they call the Cameroon Female League. Yeah. So what would have been the situation if those girls who are of the domestic league were part of this squad? What would have been the situation? I can't say for now. The highest goal scorer came from Cameroon in that competition. The best goalkeeper came from Cameroon in that competition. Yet they were not part of this team that went to Morocco. So you must give them the opportunity to try to take off time and choose the best talent that you have at your disposal and give them to the competent expertise. And once that is done, allow these guys to do their job. Don't give a team to a coach and then you come back and try to teleguide him. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't function that way. So now that the Cameroon Guinea Super League, that is their women's domestic league, has taken off and is really producing good results, and we are seeing, maybe it's an opportunity for the administrators and managers of football made in Cameroon to sit back and say, okay, well, we now have the opportunity to take a cool head, put together the best resources available for us to tackle the future challenges.
So again, I know we have not yet started our series on African teams preparing for the World Cup, but this has been a perennial problem too for the men's team. It has always been a problem selecting the best, So do you see the same thing repeating? Because it seems as if it's who you know that is going to make you to the team. And after all, in one of our programs we talked about the quality of the players we have currently. Cameroon men's soccer team leaves a lot to be desired. So I don't know. I'm just saying it seems as if it's not just a problem for the women; it's equally a problem for the men. The technical team is not allowed to scout for the best, and even when they scout for the best, the manager is not allowed to really select play who is most fit for the game. Am I right in making that assumption?
No, you might not be very far from the truth. What I can say concerning that is that the president of the Cameroon Football Federation, Samuel Eto'o, has vowed that Cameroon would reach the semi-finals of the World Cup in Qatar. Reaching the semi-finals of the World Cup in Qatar is not just granting interviews and saying we're going to do that. Put together the required arguments that can take you to the semi-finals of the World Cup in Qatar. Now, I know that as soon as he came into office as the president of FECAFOOT, and has been doing quite a great job, Samuel Eto'o has been doing quite well. He, alongside the new man in charge of the Cameroon national team, Rigobert Song Bahanak, they crisscross Europe to get in touch with some of those players that think Cameroon requires to be able to make a mark in the World Cup. So you would draw up first the balance sheet of what happened at the WAFCON. And when you have drawn up the balance sheet of what happens there, you make sure that those things don't repeat themselves when it comes to putting together the Cameroon men's team for the FIFA World Cup. So now when you have scouted for those players, put together, give them the enabling environment for the players to get to play as a team and get just the best from that. Mr. Eto'o has been criticized for being too vocal about certain things. Well, but sometimes being that vocal can also have very positive things coming with it. He literally warned the players when he had a game against a little known quantity recently and telling him that no one as yet had qualified for the World Cup finals. Well, that says it all. So that is why recently when G. Clinton, who was not included, in fact, actually he had been taken out of the forum, the group forum for the players of the national team, to spell indirectly that he would not be part of the Cameroon team for the World Cup finals. Recently, or just a few days ago, he picked up a contract with the Turkish side Sivasspor. And what we learned from social media is that Samuel Eto'o, the president of the Cameroon Football Federation, wrote to him congratulating him on his newest achievement and telling him that you are a professional footballer and you are playing football to make a name for yourself and for your family and your country. So we're going to be watching you. If you are good enough, you can be sure that you're going to be amongst those of them who are going to the World Cup in Qatar. So that simply says that if we go by what he's saying and he's going to give us what he has promised to give us, that simply says that the players that are going to have arguments to be part of that team are simply going to win. That's the long and short of the whole story. So I don't think that if a man should come at the helm of Fecafoot and be doing so well as he has been doing right now, we should start suggesting that he may want to bring back those ills that he himself was fighting against once he was a player in the national team. I covered his activities as a footballer for almost 19 years. And towards the end of his career as a footballer with the Cameroon national team, I knew the kinds of things we were doing, the kinds of things that he was standing against, and his approach to things left and right and stuff like that. I knew about all those things. Now, he was always championing this cause to ask Fecafoot, allow the players or the technicians and the players to operate as one family and give the results that Cameroonians want. Now that he is the man in charge, would he come down now and trying to make worse, make even more sour the same broth he had been complaining about? I don't think so. I think what he will try to do is that he will try to season the broth now and give it the real taste that has been clamoring for all along. So I don't expect anything short of him putting in just the best and making sure that the Cameroon national team is really the best that can represent the team in the finals coming up in Qatar.
We all will be watching, and we have our fingers crossed, hoping he delivers. But before we leave that topic, which was actually not one we wanted to talk about, there was a report last week about the Minister of Sports in Cameroon having submitted something to FIFA about the president of Fecafoot. And I know there's a current problem about whether Eto'o deserves to continue being president of Fecafoot with a suspended sentence in Spain. So where are we with that, and what's your opinion?
Well, Lambert, Fecafoot. You know, at some point, when you attend a party, for example, and people are enjoying themselves, and you're going and talking to this guy in this one's ear, coming back here, talking to this other one's ear, going out talking in people's ears left and right. At some point, you become a nuisance, and so people start looking at you. That's what Cameroon has turned out to be within the ranks of the world governing body, not really world governing body, in fact, the Court of Arbitration for Sports. So before the election of Eto'o as the president of Fecafoot, he, amongst others, tabled complaints at FIFA and CAS saying that the elections that we're going to hold were going to be irregular because already the games have already been, the rules of the games have already been botched right from the word go. So he was already saying that. So his protests already stayed there. His claims were already there at the headquarters of FIFA and of CAS. So, but he ended up winning the same elections that he has said should never be given any credit. Now, you have won. What are you saying? Are you telling us that you are a legitimate or an illegitimate president? He was amongst those who had championed the cause that the elections were not going to be free and fair and that they should even annul them. In fact, they went ahead to hold the elections that will be annulled. An election on an election that will be annulled by the Cameroon Committee of the National Olympic and Sports Committee of Cameroon. The Chamber of Arbitration had already nullified the elections. Those who were on the other side of the aisle maintained it. So Eto'o became the president of the federation. But now there was this thing hanging, this thing that he himself already was seated on, saying that the elections, the results, whatever came out of the results were never to be taken seriously. So others took advantage of that, and since they couldn't have him by their side, they didn't have him on their own side, they kept on pushing forward at the level of FIFA. Now, FIFA decided that on the 30th of May would give a final ruling on whether or not the elections that brought Samuel Eto'o to office were valid or not. CAS 1 month later, in June, 30th of June, postponed taking a decision and gave Cameroon 1 month to do so. The 31st of July has come, and we are being told that CAS has postponed its verdict on that again till the last day of August. So they keep on pushing the thing on. But while this is going on, the issue of tax fraud in Spain has come in as a new element in the fire. So that is what is happening right now. To say that it was the Minister of Sports who went ahead to notify FIFA that was a vacancy at the head of the federation because Eto'o had a suspended sentence in Spain, that is not true, at least from what we learned from the ministry, because if they did, I will not see why they would try to dissociate themselves from what has been published, what we have seen on social media. So the ministry's stand is that they are not aware that anybody wrote to CAS, the Court of Arbitration for Sport, to say that Eto'o was not longer the president of FECAFOOT. So it is just another group of persons who still don't yet agree that Eto'o should be the president of the federation, who are looking for every available means to forestall his work in the federation. So that is exactly what is happening. So now when I started by making the metaphor of the nuisance of an attendee at the party, what I'm saying is that these guys at CAS and FIFA, they have received Cameroon more than any other, so many times more than any other federation member of the 204 members of FIFA, or football associations membership of members of FIFA. So they're disappointed in Cameroon. And actually where they are now, if you do look at the attitude is such that I will not be surprised that at the end of August, they tell you that, well, we have decided that this thing is not our handling, because they had taken a very strange step at the time. When the verdict was expected from CAS, the Court of Arbitration for Sports, everybody expected them to come out with something that was clean and clear that had to be applied. But what did CAS say? CAS say, yes, we agree that with all the arguments forwarded to us, that the elections at FECAFOOT were invalid. But while nullifying those elections, we ask that those who are still in command should keep on running their affairs. So which could also mean that at the end of August, they could still come and tell you that it is true, Eto'o's elections in the office of FECAFOOT has been nullified because it has not been regular. But let he and those who are still in charge keep on running the affairs of FECAFOOT while waiting for what is coming afterwards. And then someday they'll come and tell that, okay, those of you who are still in charge, still one of the candidates for the post of president of FECAFOOT, Eto'o in this case, they will be asked therefore to come up with new rules and regulations or amended rules and regulations so that they can run again for the same elections whose rules are written out to be governed. So it becomes at some point, the whole thing has become a nuisance. But if you were to ask my humble opinion what I think about this whole thing, I think this has taken to convince each person means well for Cameroon football. No human endeavor is perfect. He has proven beyond reasonable doubt that he has Cameroon football interests at heart. So allow him do what he can do. But at the same time, I am saying, if you find something wrong with a text, you work on the text and then apply them. Because as long as they are there, you can't do something that's not in the text. So try to work on the text and then apply what you already have in the text. Don't apply something which is out of what you keep as the running document of the federation. That's where I stand. But in terms of the results and what he's done so far, I think that young man should be given a kudos on the back.
Again, if you are just joining us, welcome to the Lambom Show. I'm on set with veteran sports journalist Fon Echekiye, and we are on African Soccer Vibes. We are going through the just ended TotalEnergies Women's African Cup of Nations competition that took place in Morocco. Just before we move on from that, Fon, towards the end of that competition, we had the CAF Awards, and we had predicted who was going to be the best player. I told you that because they put his name last. Of course, it was an indication already that the things were already stiff. But the most interesting part of the awards is the fact that Senegal got 5 of those awards: best player, best coach, best team, best goal, and I think best young player of the year. So are we in effect saying Senegal is the best African soccer team at the moment? Is that your analysis?
Well, Lambert, at some point, one country has to be the best in the competition. At some point, one country has to emerge as the best. And this time around, it happens that the best team on the African continent right now is Senegal. If, for example, God the Father Almighty, creator of heaven and earth, were to organize an interplanetary competition and ask that each planet should meet and choose their best teams, how would they go about that? They will go about that by choosing the best teams and the best players from all the continents. And if they came to Africa and the time was running out, you know what they would do? They just ask who was the best team in this whole thing. And you'll be told that that team was Senegal. You ask you, who was the best player? They will say it was from Senegal. Who was the best beautiful player from Senegal? The best coach from Senegal. And the facts and figures are speaking volumes. There's nothing you can do about that. Sometimes facts and figures are so stubborn that there is just nothing you can do about it. If you can melt them in a furnace, they still emerge as liquid facts and figures speaking the same language they speak when they are still in their solid forms. So I did not find anything wrong, except, for example, at the level of the men's young player of the year. I thought that it would have been Dango Ouattara from Burkina Faso, for the simple fact that he is not only doing well at his level, they brought in as a teaser for the national team. He has done so well. So that is where I would have maybe disagreed with him. But talking about the teams of the year, there's nothing you can do about it. Women's team of the year, Mamelodi Sundowns of South Africa. That's a team that is so consistent. They have the structures. They have everything that it takes for the team to emerge as a professional side. No wonder most of the players of that team constituted the Banyana of South Africa. So, and winning the Women's African Champions League was something like an icing on the cake. So no one has anything to quarrel with the award given to Mamelodi Sundowns of South Africa as the Women's Team of the Year, the Women's Club of the Year, the Men's Club of the Year, Wizard of Casablanca. How do you judge them? I mean, it has to do with club football on the continent. You go and look at the performance in the most prized league of the continent, which is that it is the African Champions League, and that competition was won by Wizard of Casablanca, Morocco. Now, when you look at the men's interclub player, Mohamed El Shewani of Al Ali of Egypt, have nothing to complain with that. Women's interclub player, Evelyn Badi of Ghana, nothing to complain about that. The men's team of Senegal, I've just made a comment about it. The coach of the year, the women's coach of the year, Desiree Ellis. I told you already that before we got to those selections, to those choices, I was telling you that CAF had said that we're going to choose the women's team of the year after the final game, and I told you that there was nothing they could do about it. South Africa had already convinced me from the first day, and that's why I kept on telling you that. Even I had somebody from CAF telling me something different, I would have told him that I had already predicted and projected from the first day that South Africa will go all the way. So when they won the cup, it was just a confirmation of what I already know. And there is no way you're going to win the cup with a coach who is not performing. So did that with the coach who is performing. So it makes a lot of sense. Therefore, the logic is quite clear that the coach of that team, Desiree Eli, could have only have been the women's coach of the year. Now, the men's coach of the year, of course, made a comment about that. Now, we come to the women's player of the year. Put all the arguments and achievements in the various clubs, various games, various competitions in the course of the year. It speaks volume. And that is why Asisat Oshoala would emerge for the 4th time ever the women's best player on the continent. Now coming to the king himself, Sadio Mane. Now, when you started talking about it, I was just shaking my head. I just said that I was saying, and I mean that when CAF published the list, Sadio Mane's name appeared, and it didn't suggest that they already knew he was going to be the winner. No, they were not suggesting that it was just a coincidence. It was a plausible coincidence, that's all. So those CAF awards, for me, they live up to expectation. And even could make a statement about the event itself. Wow, it was quite great. The way the Moroccans did it, it was such a lovely evening. It was what they call a show. That's what they call a show. It was a wonderful thing. Excuse me. From when the guests, the event, started walking on the red carpet coming to the main hall, you could see that there was a new sense of organization, breaking away from monotony from preceding years, that Mr. Moschepe and his guys, the executive bureau of the Confederation for African Football, actually living up to what they have promised, that things will not be the same again. In fact, it was really the pride of Africa to see what happened. In fact, I still remember when Rigobert's song climbed on stage, and the first question was, what was this a metaphor about danger? He says in French, but I want to put it this time in English, that it is when you think that you are not in danger, that you are in danger. When you don't have any idea whatsoever that you are in danger, when you think that you are not in danger, that's when you're in danger. But when you start panicking around the place that you're in danger, that's exactly when you're not in danger. Quand tu es en danger, c'est que tu n'es pas en danger. Mais quand tu ne sais pas que tu es en danger, que tu es déjà en danger. So the way he took on song, it brought in a kind of feeling. And so when Song now had to offer the trophy to his colleague in arms, Aliou Cissé, you know what he said? He said, "Et celui-là qui a gagné me ressemble. He who is taking this trophy back home looks very much like me." So everybody just started laughing. They knew it already. It was so clear. Everything was so. There was a lot of conviviality, and I think that things like this should tell the world a lot about Africa. Africa has a sense of organization. Africa has the urge for something. They want things that are good. Africa wants to be put where they belong to. And Africa, if given a chance, would one day ride this world. They'll be on top of the world and dictate the alphabet of football to the rest of the world.
Thank you very much, Fon. The one question that I have not had answered, I don't know what Alexander Siwe is still here. Alexander Siwe is Director of Communications at CAF. It's the price. Is there a cash value to it, or is just the palmarès? That again, because I know this, the night before, that's Wednesday night, Mane played a game here in DC with his team. That's his first game with Bayern. He played here that night and then flew out immediately to Morocco. And so I'm wondering, what is it about the awards that people take it so serious if there's no cash value to it? Is it just that you have that thing given to you? What is it about CAF award that we should pay attention to?
Well, I wouldn't say. I think it has to do with honors. I will just put it in another way. Now, let's ask the question. The Lambom Show is going on side by side in competition with other shows, I imagine. Now, if one day they will have to grade them and try to give them awards, I'm not so sure that Lambert is going to be celebrating how much cash prizes come with it. Rather, he's going to be celebrating the trophy, the acknowledgement that he has been doing something well, that this is a symbol of our acknowledgement of what he has been doing. I think that's what Lambert is going to remember all of his life, and not that he was giving maybe $500,000 and stuff like that. I think that is something like that. For now, I can't tell you how much goes along the various envelopes. I can give you only just what the we're told was given to the teams that win the big competitions. For example, the women's team that won the recent Women's Africa Cup, South Africa, went back home with the equivalent of 250 million CFA francs. People are complaining that this is just 1/10 of what the men's team, the Senegalese team, won. They won the trophy in Cameroon. That was about 2.5 billion CFA francs. But what I can say about it is that CAF is doing things to vulgarize this sport and give it the durability that it would want to have in the years to come. This has not been happening before. The fact that they got this into this competition and have all 28 matches handled with the help of video assistant refereeing, the fact that they had only women officiating at the matches, the fact that they gave it the standard. In fact, looking at the quality of play, if you came in from Mars and just landed, you would have thought that this competition going on is maybe Africa's most prized event, which is not. Of course, the men's event comes before it. That they could always do better. Because I think at one point a question was asked concerning an aspect of the competition which was not going quite well. For example, okay, what was that question? Someone was asking me which country will host the next Women's Africa Cup of Nations. And I told them that to the best of my knowledge, I was not aware of that because apparently only Benin had launched a bid to host the tournament. So if we're the men's competition, for example, we would know at the end of the tournament where the next event will be holding. This one has ended. For the women's series, we have not yet been told where it's going to be ending, when the next one is going to be holding. So there are one or two things like that need to be taken care of. But grosso modo, I think the Confederation of African Football is actually doing a great job and needs to be given a pat on the back.
Thank you very much, and I'm glad you made the analogy of the Lambom Show. I think we'll be grateful if we got an award without the money. The money is not important. But I think that I'm just curious about that. Now again, so in general, I think you have an A grade for the organization of the competition and all that. There's a big issue that I've not yet been able to dig into, but there's a Nigerian who has just written an article talking about the fact that the competition seemed to have been homophobic because African lesbians were not allowed to participate in the competition. The last time we talked about the fact that there's a Zambian, I don't have the details here, but these are these are things that are coming up with respect to how are we going to allow lesbians in a competition where majority of the continent frowns against homosexuality. And we talked about transgender the last time we were on set. We were asking ourselves whether we're sure the Nigerian players were not men. Okay, but so my question to you is, what is your take on that? Where do we stand on letting lesbians take part in the competition?
Well, I imagined, Lambert, that each and every competition has its rules. When a tournament is defined to be the Women's Africa Cup of Nations, we're referring to women. Who is a woman? First of all, we know that women is a plural of woman. Women is a plural of women. Or the women is a plural of woman. So who is a woman? This tournament is meant for women. And I can always stop at that. It's meant for women. Now, whatever happens amongst them in the locker room, one can't quite say. In other words, you might not be able to determine what kind of morality reigns in camp when these teams get constituted and go in camp to prepare for a competition. We are not going to start saying that because you don't expect a CAF to start telling people that, well, it must be of good moral behavior when they come to a competition. They tell you football has 17 rules. These are the rules that have to be respected. If you're getting to this game, these are the rules to be respected. They did think that they have to start telling you that, no, we don't need to hear that there are lesbians around and this and that. It might become a little complicated, it might become a little tricky. Things like those should be handled by the various delegations, because that is for that we would try to help a bit of the morality in camp when these players come together to prepare for big competitions. So aspects as lesbianism, homosexuality, sexuality, and stuff like that are not things that you can really quantify when you are trying to judge up, or you are trying to judge the participation, or trying to size up participation of teams that take part in competitions. I think that for now they are staying within the confines of the rules of the game. Now, these other aspects are aspects that have to do with how you manage the morality aspects of their players in camp. I don't think that CAF will come down there to come and start looking for who is doing this or who is that, because if they were to do that, the next thing they will do is you ask for them to do is that, well, come and find out whether when they go to bed at night, some people have their pajamas on, others don't have, and so on and so forth. So I think those aspects have to do with things that have to do with behavioral conditions or situation dispensations amongst the players, and should be taken care of by various delegations.
So I want us to round up this with an article that was written by Philip Acha. I don't know whether you know Philip. Can you hear me?
I'm not quite getting you right now. Not quite getting you.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, I can get you.
Yeah, I was saying that let's round up this section by, I wanted to reference an article that was written on Facebook by Philip Acha. And he said, the ladies are brilliant. However, it is a different game. That's why it's called women's football. It is unfair that women are expected to perform at the highest level in a game that was created by men, for men, and in which the rules are tailored for men. Chesting the ball, for example. Power depends on muscular mass, and male hormones will always make them develop more power. And the 100 meters, 200 meters, 400 meters, and all other track records for men and women will never be equal. And that boils down to muscular mass on which leans resistance. So it's unfair to make ladies play for 90 minutes on pitch sizes designed for men. I don't mind the ladies receiving equal price money, but let's face it, it's unfair. Reduce the pitch size by 30% and shorten their games to 60 minutes.
Well, I see exactly what he means. I see exactly what he means. But can he tell me that he was reading the article? Can he tell me whether or not he can beat up any woman that he meets in a fist fight? Is he sure that he will beat up every other woman that he meets in a fist fight? I don't think so. Now, if you say that those dimensions of the field are being used as playing ground for women versus men, it poses a problem. Now, the dimensions stay where they are, with the opponents of the same gender. So it doesn't therefore cause any problem. The gender is the same irrespective of the dimensions of the pitch. Now, if you were to say that the male team was playing against the female team, but they maintain the dimension of the field, I would therefore say, okay, there's a problem here. So the knowledge of the idea of suggesting that because it would require a lot of endurance and resistance, well, I don't know. If I were to take you something like the Mount Cameroon race, for example, you know the story of that race. A woman who goes up and down the hill comes and stays down at the stadium in Moliko 2 hours before some men come back from the mountain. What do you say about that? That could just be a myth. the dimensions of the field should therefore not matter. It has to be with the same gender. That's my stand on it.
Thank you very much, Fon. I think we have exhausted our analysis of the TotalEnergies Women's African Cup of Nations. Are there any other tidbits you wanted to throw in?
No, I don't have a tidbits. I was there to answer questions from you, and you told me that we'll stay on for 1 hour. We'll be there for 1 hour, 5 minutes. In spite of the fact that you know that I have to take my drugs, you still put me down on the thing, and I'm very happy. You know why? Because you didn't ask me any checks diary today.
I was going to spare you that, but if you have anything, do you have something you want to pull out from your hat, from a checks diary for us?
No, there is no. Just that last week you had promised that you're going to come on board with Chancellor Nancy, the physically challenged female reporter from CRT who covered this competition, for her to share experiences with us. Wasn't possible. Well, probably it was possible some other time. But I just want to seize the opportunity of her participation on the show to say one or two things. I listened to her do some of the reports, not only live commentaries on matches, but I listened to one of them run live commentaries of the matches. Her name was Gaëlle Mudio. She ran the commentaries in French throughout, and had as a analyst working with her the former captain of the Cameroon national team, Christine Mani. And I thought that Gaëlle Mudio did a commendable job. Why do you insist on this? During the the African Men's Championship held in Douala and Yaoundé and Limbe, I remember on one occasion I was running the commentary. I was commentating on the match. I was sitting on the desk where the reporters did, and she came and sat by me and I was running the commentaries how we do on television. At the end of the day, she looked at me and said, "Now this is very unfair." I said, "Why?" I said, "These people don't have to pay you." I said, "Why don't they have to pay me?" He said, "Because I've seen it throughout. I've watched you. You are just enjoying yourself. You're really enjoying. You're not working. You're enjoying yourself, and you're going to get paid for enjoying yourself." And I told her that, Gaëlle, you don't have to. Don't mystify this whole thing. There's nothing to it. I was just chatting with your fans, those who are watching on TV. You're watching the games on the pitch and watching. You have your control sheet here. I'm just chatting and trying to guide them one or two things and making the football more enjoyable. And it would seem that when they took her to go and run the commentaries of this competition, she did not have enough time to prepare for that. It is true, however, that CRTV's general manager in 2016, when Cameroon had to host the tournament, had decided to introduce ladies in this whole civilization of running commentaries. And they found it an outrage at the time. That with the years having gone by, they have tried to grow in their ability to run commentaries of matches. And that's why I listened to her to run the commentaries of this match, and I was fairly impressed. To say that you don't have to build a mantle before you and then say, "Well, I can't go beyond." But you have built something and put it in front. Why do you create the obstacle for yourself? Tell yourself you can do it, and you will always be able to do it. So I found it quite good, and had I had Chancellor on as you had promised, I would have maybe congratulated her directly. I've not had the opportunity to talk with her ever since. So that is it. So talking now about the checks diary. What do I say? There are so many things in there. So many things in there. I don't know exactly which one I was going to talk about. I don't know what to settle on, except you yourself would suggest something. The things are too many, so sometimes I get missing in some of the things.
I mean, is there any local game that you covered that you remember that was very, maybe I don't want to say very funny, very exciting, or very, we may talk at the national level, but local soccer is always something that is enticing in Cameroon. I mean, I remember watching Peter Bamenda very regularly. So maybe there's something from a checks diary that relates to reporting at home.
Well, it might be. I can't get
Okay, I think Enio has decided to do something. Again, I was on set with Fon Echekiye. I think he just had a connection issue. Connectivity is a problem. Today has been quite interesting. We didn't have much of that. We had some technical issues at the beginning with the mic, and we're grateful that Director of Communications for CAF, Mr. Alexander Siwe, was able to point out to us. But I've had the veteran journalist Fon Echekiye on set with me. We have been analyzing the just ended TotalEnergies Women's African Cup of Nations competition that took place in Morocco. And that trophy was lifted by the women of South Africa. It's been a very wonderful competition. The standards were perfect. Women's competition in Africa has really, really grown and improved. And the competition that just ended was eloquent testimony of the hard work that CAF is putting in to make sure that soccer in Africa rises to the level that it becomes enviable. It currently is to a certain extent, but really putting in everything. We also talked about the CAF Awards, and thank God Fon is back. I said Enio was playing some games, but we're glad that we are back. So give us any of the things from Echek's diary so that we let you go rest and prepare for next week.
I still have some difficulty because I see the lines are still breaking over there. Well, I didn't have anything else what you want to say. I hear you talking about something local scene or something like that. Well, there was a time in this country when the team playing from the southwest region was called PW Kumba, taking part in the Interpost competition in 1987. So then I was a second-year student in the Advanced School of Mass Communication. PW Kumba came over to Yaoundé to play against the subgroup of the Interpost tournament, and they were lodged at a place called College Vault. That is how when I went there, I got used to people like Ashington Philip, Michael Nzongong, and many others. So the tournament began it continued. The tournament continued. So we would always leave our classrooms and rush to the Ahmadu Ahidjo Stadium to watch the team play in the course of the tournament. The president general at the time was called Fayez Olabi. So it got to a point where PW Kumba had a crucial match. It was against Ziva of Mokolo. PW Kumba had to defeat Ziva Mokolo by at least half a goal to be sure to take on Egle Chang, it's possible to qualify for the next phase of the tournament. I remember how from almost 70 meters, Ashington Philip took the ball with his left leg, raised it up, and when the ball went just halfway his knee level, he took a thunderous left footer that sailed straight into the goal. And Ziva Morko was defeated by 1-0. It was all night celebration that day at College Vault. Now, after that, PW Kumba had to play against Egle Chang. That match was going to be played in the Ahmadu Ahidjo Stadium, very tight and a very, very, very tense atmosphere. There had been a lot of noise that players had gone and taken money for the discourse of the match to be fixed, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. So when this match began, fans who had come to the stadium thought that Kumba was already out of the tournament, but they got it all wrong. The very, very, very first minute of the game, a certain player from Egle Chang called, I forgot, Wamba Petit Michel, a dribbled everybody, including the goalkeeper, Charles Ajebe, and was heading for the net. But how Charles Ajebe managed to collect the ball with his legs, from the legs of the advancing Petit Michel, something one else could hardly see. So as people were celebrating, they turn and look at Fayez Alabi was already crumbling on the ground because that was already a goal. And so, so close to it, people were like fanning him that the president had given up and was actually giving up the ghost. But he was rising to his feet and asking that give me some more cigarette, give me some more cigarette, give me some more cigarette. So I've not forgotten that thing. So Peter Kumba succeeded to qualify for the cross semi-finals, and they had to play in Douala. So those of us who could not travel from Yaoundé to Douala to watch that crucial semi-final match followed the match very, very closely. In fact, it was now the final match that had to determine if they had to win, because they were not playing the cross semi-finals. If they won that match, they have qualified for the first division, and they were playing against Santos of Yaoundé. And so when they locked on, when they hooked on with CRTV Douala, I think it was Maurice Chimene running the commentary on that occasion. As soon as they just got the penalty, that was the last penalty kick that was being taken from Santos. Kumba had lost the penalty, crucial penalty. So now they were heading now for the ultimate penalty for Santos. I still remember in French, like saying that the children don't have any pity for their father. That Fayez had put in everything to let Kumba qualify.
Again, I'm so sorry. Fon, connectivity issues, we have to work on it. We keep saying it, we need to do something to improve on the connectivity. We know that's a problem on the continent. But again, I want to say thank you to all who joined us today. It's been great. We look forward to next Saturday, same time. We're going to be on time next Saturday. We'll start talking about how African teams are preparing for the World Cup. If you have any topics you would like for us to handle, please write to us. The email address. If you have anything, any topic, anything you would like for us to handle, that is the email, lambert.bomb@gmail.com. Or you can also send it to lambombuvuzela@gmail.com. Same thing. So again, thank you all for being part of this show. Thank you for your time. And we'll look forward to better connectivity and more engaging analysis next Saturday. Thank you from us. Have a good evening.